Okay, Josie, our next serial killer is the dreaded blackgrass.
Alopecorus, of which there are 29 species.
29 species in that genus, and the main one that we're interested in is?
Myoceroides.
Myoceroides. Alopecorus myoceroides. And do you know what that name means?
No, I don't. I'll let you enlighten me.
I checked in with our former colleague, Adrian Stockdale.
Adrian?
He literally wrote the book, Plant Names Simplified.
Yes, he did.
And he's told me that Alopecorus means fox-like and Myoceroides means mouse-like. So this is referring to the panicle, the ear where all the seeds are held, and obviously looks like a fox's tail.
It is.
And so all of the species in this genus have this sort of foxtail seed head, which is notoriously bad at losing its seed into cereal crops. Other names for blackgrass include slender meadow foxtail, twitchgrass, and black twitch. Do you come across any others?
No, I haven't.
No. Maybe some of the listeners know some other names for probably with expletives. This would be
probably.
Over 18s only podcast if a lot of people talk about blackgrass. Because there's another name for it. I heard it being described as the foot and mouth disease of cereal crops.
Oh.
So it's so bad that it's the equivalent of foot and mouth. Is to in cattle, it is to cereal crops. And so obviously if something's going to be compared to foot and mouth disease, it's got to be pretty bad, and yield losses to blackgrass, if you do nothing about them, can get up to 50% of your crop, which for a weed is just unbelievable, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Crazy. So related organisms, the good news is that blackgrass is not related to cereals. So you get a lot of weeds, especially grass weeds like the rye that are and bromes that are very closely related to cereal crops. But blackgrass is not. If you look at the relationship between all the grass species, blackgrass is further removed. And at Utrema, we're using that to help develop the next generation of control methods. The fact that it is unrelated to cereals offers up some potential for its control. I'll talk more about that later. Identifying blackgrass can be difficult, especially early on, because obviously as plant scientists, we like to have flowers to identify plants for sure. But obviously as a farmer, you guys need to be able to identify weeds early on. So what are some of the tips for identifying blackgrass?
Well, it flowers from May to August, sometimes into October, and one main way of identifying it is that flower heads appear above the cereal crop in May and June. So they will stand above them, and they may develop also on side shoots. So, these flower heads will be taller.
Before you get to the flower heads, you can identify them basically that they... where the blade, the leaf joins the stem, there's something called an arable in most grasses, and that's absent from blackgrass.
It is.
Yeah. So that's
and also it's a smooth leaf as well. There's no tiny hairs on that either.
Brilliant. So you should be able to identify it. Certainly around here, we're based in Daventry, Utrema, and we are probably the epicenter for blackgrass damage, and you'll find blackgrass everywhere in the fields around here.
Yeah, it's mainly in the cereal growing areas of southern and eastern England on the map.
In fact, I've got a map.
Yeah.
And because we've started the blackgrass biology group, every farmer who's registered an interest in that, I mapped out last night. And as you can see there, it is the southeast. And traditionally, you would say East Anglia and Essex are the hot spots. However, certainly not Norwich. We've got no farmers in Norwich, Norfolk even. Kent, there's only a few. Sussex, we haven't got any. But it's sort of the Cotswolds and then up to here in Daventry. So lower East Midlands really is the hotspot. And then we don't get anything into Cornwall or Wales, nowhere in the northwest. And it seems to be like the Humber is the current northerly top range for blackgrass. And certainly we've got a lot of farming customers up in Hexham, Northumberland, and they couldn't care less about blackgrass. They never see it, and things like fescues are more of a problem. But blackgrass is on the move, especially with climate change, and so we are starting to see, well, on the move, plus on tractors, on combines.
Absolutely.
In seed.
In seed. Now, a big problem is farmers that harvest and keep their own seed. Because they don't filter it, then obviously there is blackgrass seed within the seed that they've harvested and kept. So that is a major problem.
For reinfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, ensuring that seed is blackgrass free is one of the big problems in Irish farming at the moment. So making sure they don't import blackgrass seed into the Emerald Isle. Occasionally blackgrass does appear, but and they seem to be good. They're on top of it. So what they call tillage farmers, what we call arable farmers, they're definitely on the ball, trying to keep it out of the Emerald Isle. Scotland, not heard of any blackgrass being an issue there, but it is a problem in Germany, and all of my distributors in the Balkans and Greece, if you class Greece as the Balkans, I'm not sure, it depends. They suffer from blackgrass, so it's definitely something that is on the move from the southeast.
Yeah, so, it started in the late 1960s.
Yeah,
and when the continuous winter wheat growing throughout traditional cereal areas was undertaken. So that's what caused it.
I think as well, when farmers couldn't burn off the stubble.
Yeah.
That was a real issue.
So the continuous winter wheat, it was there, you couldn't get rid of it. Early drilled crops and minimal cultivation actually is a factor for it to grow and spread, because you're not turning that soil over, so you're not burying those seeds. By not burying them, they're on the surface and they're always going to germinate. Yeah,
and I think min-till, no-till, regenerative farming has ample benefits, but when it comes to blackgrass, it can be an issue. And because blackgrass seeds have very limited dormancy, they can germinate straight away. So straight off the plant, they can germinate, so which means they get going, and if they're not being ploughed, they're not dying because of that. Whereas something that, like a poppy seed, is a dormant seed that can live for decades in the soil. So you would have all the weed issues when you're ploughing. So it's something to consider. But then that offers up opportunities for exploiting that to your advantage when it comes to regen. So clever timing of pre and post emergence herbicides is where you've got to be key there.
Early drillings of crops allows the crops to establish themselves, so that with them establishing themselves quite vigorously, they can compete effectively with blackgrass.
So there will be spring drill crops.
Early drillings.
I think when it gets really bad, they sort of have to abandon autumn sown cereals, and then certainly wheat, and then barley seems to be a good one for outcompeting blackgrass.
Yeah.
So we said yield losses can be up to 50%. They might be just 5% to begin with, but that's when the costs kick in. So the control method costs are very expensive, and it can be what could cripple you in a cereal farming, really.
Well, it seems to be herbicide resistant.
Yep.
So that's kind of a problem. So you have to tackle it with a three-pronged approach.
All right.
Which is
you've lost your three prongs, Josie.
Cultural, rotational, and herbicidal.
There we go.
That's your integrated approach there that's needed.
Yep. So we talked about cultural. What would come under cultural control? I guess using toppers and things like that. Have you seen these toppers that go across the wheat and the barley, and they just cut the heads? As we said before, the blackgrass flower heads appear above the crop.
That's right.
Yeah, so you can go along and just mow them off.
That's right.
Now, people have different opinions on whether these are actually value for money, whether it's a waste of time. They do have hoovers on the back, or vacuums on the back to get the seeds, but you could just be spreading the seed if you're not careful. Hand pulling, I guess, would come under that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge job on a field, though, isn't it? My goodness.
But if you only had one or two plants, maybe, and have you seen it when they sprayed off crops to kill the blackgrass?
No. It's
really depressing. So even part of a field or a whole field has to be sprayed off with glyphosate to just scorched earth approach.
That's just so bad.
Yeah, it's a massive financial loss, but compared to letting the blackgrass
and ecology
spread,
and biodiversity as well, that's going to affect that.
Yeah. What other herbicides did you come across other than?
Didn't actually come across any herbicides as such.
Yeah, so I came across flufenicet and pendimethalin, prosulfocarb. These will all have trade names. Bayer, Syngenta, BASF are the three key leaders in the UK when it comes to pre and post emergence herbicides, and they'll have the expertise to make sure that farmers deliver those herbicides in the best way to control blackgrass. So that's not our area of expertise, so we won't delve too much into that. As we said, resistance is a big issue, and that's leading to the spread of blackgrass.
Apparently it's quite bad in Leicestershire and Rutland.
Yes, yeah, from here north into Leicestershire it's bad. It loves heavy soils.
Loves heavy soils, absolutely. Yeah. However, it occurs in loves heavy land and can occur occasionally in sand and gravelly soil, but it has started to appear on chalk.
Oh right. Bad times for the chalk farmers then. So it's so heavy soils, anywhere it's compacted, it's going to love.
Yeah, because the soil sits on the surface, and with not ploughing as traditionally fields were ploughed quite deeply, then those seeds are not going to be buried.
The good news is that you can rotate the crop. So if you put in a non-cereal crop in next, so some beans or some oilseed rape, you can get control. And the population, the viability of those seeds is so low after a few years that you can get really good control. So it drops by something like 60-70% the next year if you can get away from another cereal crop. So that's the good news about blackgrass. The fact that it grows so quickly from a seed is also it can be its downfall. So we've got here to talk about biological control. Now, I don't think have you found any biological control out there?
No, I haven't.
No. So that's something that we're hoping to develop here at Utrema. That's why we set up the Blackgrass Biology Group. If you go to our website, you'll see there's a tab that says blackgrass, and farmers can sign up to that. And we're working with farmers to develop a biological control method. It's not going to be a silver bullet that kills blackgrass overnight, but it's going to be something that I'm hoping would reduce the fitness of blackgrass by 20 to 30%, and it would work alongside herbicides, maybe even compatible with herbicides, and would be a very minimal cost in comparison to herbicides. So hopefully we'll have something for this section of our podcast in a year's time where we can say, yep, loads of farmers are now using X to control blackgrass.
10 years ago, quite a number of arable farmers showed 53% of these farmers applied herbicides to control blackgrass, and that was 10 years ago. Yeah,
that's crazy. So I guess pigeons might be the one form of biological control currently in use. One useful form for pigeons. It's funny when you say things like pigeons, because if you've ever tried to write a blog post with AI, which I've done recently, it gives you some crazy suggestions if you're not careful when it comes to biological control. So if you say, write me a blog post about you controlling worms on golf courses or something like that, and it'll say, encourage badgers and moles, which will eat the worms.
Yes, that will really
So
help.
if you asked ChatGPT to write you a blog post about blackgrass control, it would say, encourage pigeons, which will eat the blackgrass.
Yes, no, that's not going to work.
Farmers are going to want to do that. So when it comes to thresholds of blackgrass, we're pretty much, if you're in Ireland or somewhere, or the north of England, you're going to have a zero tolerance, or you'd hope that you would have a zero tolerance to blackgrass. You wouldn't want a single plant there in your field. Whereas if you're in Daventry, you're probably just going to have to manage the population, I would have thought. So, and the way you do that is looking at counts per metre squared, or square metre even.
Yeah, interesting fact there. You only need 12 plants per square metre to lose 5% of your yield.
And that just goes up and up, doesn't it?
It goes up and up.
And I guess there's probably not much government forecasts or maps, but something like the Botanical Society of the British Isles, they'll have maps of blackgrass, as they do every plant species in the country, and you'll be able to track that over time. So you'll be able to see how close your farm is to the forefront, the front line of blackgrass. There is a seed study being done currently by NIAB in Cambridge, along with the Boffin group of farmers, the On-Farm Trials Network, and they're looking to look at how many seeds of blackgrass are left at harvest on the plant. Now, around here, that's probably not very many. They're often shed way before harvest, but I'm not sure what the actual aims of the project are, but they're getting a lot of farmers to count seeds, so hopefully there's some control method will be recommended at the end of that. The problem is that with blackgrass, you only have to look at it and it starts shedding its seed. I've been harvesting blackgrass plants, and the seed gets off very, very quickly.
Right, so that's its natural method of...
One of the other things that we didn't mention is hammer mills on combine harvesters. That can destroy the seed that's going through the combine into the hay. I don't mean hay.
Pardon?
I don't mean hay. I mean straw, don't I?
Okay.
I always get those two things. You can tell I'm not a farmer. And so that hammer mills just break up the seed, physically destroy it. And then one of the things we haven't talked about is the diseases that blackgrass holds that can infect cereal crops. So Josie?
Ergot. Ergot is a disease that is a fungus, and it blackgrass will suffer from this.
Yeah, it's a host for it, and it will...
Claviceps purpurea.
Claviceps purpurea. I remember that from my degree days. It's one of those Latin names you tend to remember, and it's hallucinogenic, and so it's got a precursor to LSD in it. But I definitely wouldn't advise any druggies to be taking it because it causes some nasty side effects, doesn't it?
Well, it infects wheat.
Yeah.
So it's like not only the blackgrass, but it will infect wheat.
Yeah.
And in humans, it can cause ergotism. So if you eat anything that has this awful fungus on it, you might get headache, vomiting, diarrhea, gangrene in your fingers and toes. Wow. And that's due to the ingestion of the alkaloids produced by the fungus.
Yeah.
Any crop containing 70.1 grams of ergo per kilo is forbidden by law from being processed for human consumption. However, worryingly, I think, could be sold for animal feed.
Yeah, I just think there's no alternative. You've got all this wheat on your hands, and so it may affect the... You've got to remember, cows got how many stomachs? So it probably breaks it down.
Yeah.
And...
But all ergot can also host aphids and gall midge.
Can it?
Yeah. So not only is it causing this awful ergotism, but it's hosting other pests as well.
I don't think it's a massive yield loss to ergotism, so when you get infected, but I think it's just that your crop is then unfit for human consumption. And so that's a big one. One of the other diseases that it does host that is going to be really bad for yield directly is take-all. This is another fungal disease, and it results in your crop going totally yellow and before it's time for harvest. So it's not natural senescence. It is literally just take-all, as the name suggests. And as part of the blackgrass biology group, I got farmers to send in samples of blackgrass from all around the country with the hope that I could grow them hydroponically not hydroponically, but grow them in a grow room indoors and do some funky things with them. And I would say 95% of the plants died of take-all before I could get them to the point where I needed them to be. So that take-all was already there on the roots and would have been infecting cereal crops growing around the blackgrass. So
that's a real worry. This
morning before you arrived, Josie, I literally had bin bags full of take-all infected blackgrass plants that I was putting in the bin for incineration. It was that bad. So, and also it's annoying because take-all infects all cereals and grasses. So it's not like something that's specific to blackgrass that you can use as a weapon against it. Same with ergot. So they had to be destroyed. But onwards and upwards, we go on. There's no real varietal resistance to blackgrass because it's a weed. However, breeders can do funky things when it comes to breeding against weeds, so they can alter the canopy architecture and things like that. So that's one option. Any organic controls you came across for those organic farmers out there?
Not that I found, other than just picking it. And it's just the timings of your cultivating your soil and
timings of sowing and drilling and things like that.
It's often found spreading into the fields from the field margins. So that's maybe something that can be looked at quite closely to make sure that it's under control in your field margins so it won't spread.
It would be interesting to know what the level of blackgrass is in farmers who farm their own land versus contractors coming in, because of this idea that it's spread on the machinery. The seeds are very, like they build up a lot of static, so they'll attach to surfaces that you wouldn't think that seeds could normally attach to, and they have these like hairs on the end of them. And I've got loads of blackgrass seeds in the lab, and you'll just find them everywhere, just attached to like your computer screen or places you wouldn't normally find.
Oh my goodness!
And so I think contractors bringing in machinery could be
even shoes, even cars, anything like that.
Yeah. And one of the other things that would be interesting to trial would be using liquid gypsum. So we have a product called liquid gypsum, which is an instant acting flocculant for soils. Be interesting to know if you could target application in regenerative farms of the liquid gypsum to alleviate this compaction around the crop and around the blackgrass, so to make it less competitive. So that's an angle we haven't really trialed, but if any farmers want to look at the use of liquid gypsum to control or to limit blackgrass in cereal crops, it'd be something we'd be interested to look at. As I say, it's not a herbicide, or it's not even a wetting agent. It's something completely different. So that'd be something to look at. I've shown you the map of where blackgrass is at the moment. One of the interesting things I was looking at was whether in America, obviously they don't have blackgrass, but they do have genetically modified crops. And I was looking whether has anyone produced a genetically modified wheat. Now there's no commercially available genetically modified wheat. It's one of the things that scientists talk about. It's not one of the crops that are currently genetically modified. But interestingly, Monsanto did produce a glyphosate resistant wheat, so that it could have been sprayed against blackgrass. And it was never released, it was never registered, unlike other glyphosate resistant crops. But a farmer was found to be growing this wheat in 2013 in Oregon. And I think he must have got some seeds and managed to propagate it, and he got in real trouble. And even Monsanto themselves got in trouble because they were found to have this wheat that they were growing, I guess it was illegally or certainly unregistered, at a university trial site as well. So there's been a couple of incidents of people trying to get away with glyphosate resistant wheat.
Did it cause any side effects?
Well, glyphosate resistant crops do cause side effects. They always do, even no matter what your opinion is of glyphosate.
Oh, absolutely.
The main side effect is manganese deficiency in the soils. So if you use loads of glyphosate, the bacteria that make manganese available, or it locks out manganese, and so the bacteria in the plants, beneficial bacteria, can't use them. And in the past, I've worked for companies that sold large amounts of manganese to things like places like Brazil and America because the glyphosate is locking it up. So that's one of the side effects. And then there's also issues around certain forms of cancer.
That's right.
And glyphosate. And people, whether it is toxic is extremely of extreme debate in agriculture and sciences.
But with a glyphosate resistant wheat, a grain, would that have side effects if you ate it once it was?
It'd be interesting to know how much glyphosate remains. There's a thing about glyphosate as well, is that it's often claimed as soon as it hits the soil, it becomes inert. But it isn't destroyed. No, it's just inactive.
That's right, but it's still there.
Yeah, and it's still going to act in that compound. It's still going to have the features that compound has got. So whether they're positive or negative. So that's something for glyphosate. Well, this isn't a blog about glyphosate though, so we'll quickly get off this hot topic before we get lots of nasty emails. Can you think of any benefits of blackgrass here?
Benefits?
Yeah. Apparently it can be used in floristry.
Can it?
Yeah, because of these lovely foxtail flowers.
Really? I'm sure they can come up with alternatives though. Yeah.
At least one saving grace of blackgrass is it's not toxic to humans and animals.
If it hasn't been infected with ergot.
Yeah. So animals can eat it, and so you can get in there grazing the seeds and the plants. So it's non-toxic.
Well, that could be a great feed for animals then, couldn't it?
Yep. So, as I say, watch this space, or if you're interested, please join the Blackgrass Biology Group on the Utrema website. Utrema, it's Latin for wasabi. Did you know that, Josie?
No, I didn't. I'm still waiting for my wasabi plant from you.
Oh, well, I've got one next door.
Yeah.
You can have, oh, that's not even a joke. I have. So yeah, if you're struggling to spell Utrema, just go and Google wasabi, Utrema, and then join the Blackgrass Biology Group, and hopefully we'll have farmers developing their own control method for blackgrass very soon. Okay, thank you very much, Josie.
Thank you.
Okay, and until next time.
Next time, absolutely.
Goodbye.